Hey guys, this is Scott from TerribleGamers.com. What I wanted to show you today, just real quickly, is I have just unboxed the dice that you need to play Fantasy Flight Games' new Star Wars RPG game line. The first game in that line is Star Wars Edge of the Empire. That is released. You can find that book at your local game store or Amazon or directly from Fantasy Flight. The second game is called Age of Rebellion. That game is in its beta. We were able to get a hold of the beta at Gen Con 2013, but I'm pretty sure that you can download their beta directly from the Fantasy Flight website for $20, which in my mind personally, that makes it not a beta but a released product. But that's really besides the point. I really just wanted to show you the dice and what they look like and what you get for the amount of money that you pay. So we bought these for $14.99 at a local game retail shop in San Diego. You could very easily find these on Amazon for probably $13, maybe less. So you don't have to pay $14.99. But this is what you get. So you get these 4 tokens, they're reversible. These are your Force tokens. That's the dark side, that's the light side. These really aren't enough to actually use during gameplay, and obviously you can use something else besides those. But just as an example, I'm not going to go into great detail here about the mechanics. For that, you can check out a review at TerribleGamers.com. To determine at the very start of the game the total number of Force points in the Force pool, each player rolls a die. This Force die right here, this custom D12, that's a Force die. Each player rolls this, and then you add up the little pips, and that equals the total amount of Force pool in the game for that day or that game session. So as you can see, if you just had 2 players and both players rolled a 2, you're using every single one of these tokens since there's only 4. If you have 3 players, it's very easy to go over the total number. And if you have 5 players, like many tabletop gaming groups that I know, your minimum number is going to be more than they provide you here. So, also, in the dice set, we have these custom D12s. These are proficiency dice. This really isn't enough either, because you could very easily be using 3 or 4 of these. So as an example, say that you had a character who fought with a vibro sword, and he had his main strength attribute at 3 and his melee combat skill at 3. You would need 3 of these dice to make that roll. You only get 2. These light blue D6s are your advantage dice. Again, not really enough, because you can very easily find yourself needing to roll 3 of these for a single roll. These black D6s, these are your threat dice. Same thing as with the advantage dice. You could very easily need to roll 3 of these. Moving on to these green D8s, these are your ability dice. Now, again, not enough. If you have a character with any ability over 3, which is totally possible to do during character creation, you conceivably will not have enough to make certain rolls in the game. These purple dice right here, these purple D8s, these are your difficulty dice. Again, really not enough, because at some of the harder difficulties in the game, they go to 4 and 5, and for each point of difficulty, you need to include 1 of these dice in your roll. So if you're doing something that has a difficulty of 4, you don't have enough dice. And then finally you have your, the name of it is your challenge dice. Easily you could have 2 or 3 of these in a roll, depending, and you only get 1. So the biggest problem that we see, and we talk about a little in our review, which I suggest you check out at TerribleGamers.com, is that you're paying $14.99 or $13 or even $12.50 for a set of dice that won't get you through as a single player the game. That will not cover the dice pools that you're going to have to roll. And in the dice pool system, that's going to be a pain in the butt, because what you do is you roll a combination of these dice, and then you add up the successes and the failures and the advantages and the disadvantages. If you have to roll one of those twice, it's just a little bit of a pain. And honestly, we would recommend that you have at least 2 of these sets of dice at a minimum to use them to run a game of Edge of the Empire, say. Optimally, like perfectly, 3. So imagining that you're the DM and you want to use these dice because you find their chart. Fantasy Flight has a chart for you to use regular dice. That's just a little bit crazy. Not too much. It's definitely usable, but, you know, this is better. You're going to have to buy 3 of these for the perfect amount of dice. That's going to be an extra minimum $35, $45 on top of the cost of the books. But for more about these dice and our review of them, and also our review of the Star Wars Dice app, check out our review at terriblegamers.com.